The millionaire finds unexpected love after helping a female beggar's plea. Rafael Johnson never stopped. His life was a non-stop race, boardrooms, calls, deals, always chasing the next big win. At 35, Chicago's skyline was practically his backyard, a glittering playground for a man who had put everything into his career. Personal stuff? Forget it. Connections? A distraction. Until one rainy Thursday afternoon threw everything off balance. He was crammed into a noisy downtown cafe, the kind packed tight with lunchgoers and rushing strangers. His laptop was open, coffee cooling beside it, his phone buzzing non-stop in the crowded din. His fingers flew over the keys, clearing emails by the hundreds, eyes scanning a screen cluttered with deadlines and demands. Then, boom, a message popped up with no subject, no sender he recognized. Just one line that stopped him cold. "Please help me feed my baby. He's crying now." Rafael blinked. The sender was Anna Lewis. He'd never heard the name before. Curious, he cracked open the email. Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. "Dear Mr. Johnson, I don't know if you'll read this, but I'm desperate. My son Michael is barely 2 months old. I'm a single mom with no one to turn to. Can you help us? Even a little? I'm begging you." The tear stains in the scanned photo attached made the plea impossible to ignore. A tiny baby, red-faced and wailing in ragged warmth. A woman's eyes, tired but fierce, staring straight into his soul. The whole city noise seemed to muffled around him. His chest tightened like someone squeezed it. A lump formed in his throat. For the first time, he felt something that wasn't the usual buzz of ambition or the itch to close a sale. It was raw, trembling human pain. Something about Anna's words pulled him from his constant hurry. He stared at her photo, feeling heat rushing to his face. How could he have missed this? A mother begging a stranger among millions, her voice cracking through the noise of his perfect world. Rafael's fingers hovered uncertainly over the keyboard before typing back a simple, tentative reply. He didn't know what he was doing. This wasn't part of the plan. Days passed. Their messages grew, a lifeline forming in between deadlines, coffee runs, and city lights. Anna's daily battles came alive through her words. Nights of crying, grocery lines, the cold loneliness of a tiny apartment. But also strength, fierce and stubborn. Rafael found himself waiting Then, just when things seemed fragile and hopeful, a shadow appeared. David, the baby's father, a name she dreaded. Out of nowhere, David stepped back into their lives, eyes sharp, voice loud in a crowded park. He demanded custody of Michael, stirring up Anna's deepest fears, the nightmare of abandonment she'd fought to escape. Rafael stood beside Anna, heart pounding like a drum in his chest, staring down the man who represented everything he feared. Loss, pain, chaos. The park fell silent. Faces around them froze. David's words cracked the air, but at the edge of his claim, a sliver of truth slipped out. He admitted faults, weaknesses, a bitter confession that made the fight rawer, more real. Anna's grip on Rafael's hand tightened. He looked into her eyes, eyes that carried every ounce of pain and hope he'd never expected to see so close. His world trembled on an edge. Could he fight for this new, messy love? Or would he retreat to the cold safety of his lonely empire? The question hung between them like a thick fog over the city skyline, and Rafael's heart thundered loud enough to drown out the chaos. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Rafael's heart raced, pounding with heat as he faced David. The tension in the park hung thick in the air, a silent scream that cut through the whispers of onlookers. He felt Anna's grip tighten around. "Stop!" A voice boomed from the edge of the park, slicing through the tension like a knife. All heads turned, and Rafael's heart dropped as a figure emerged from the crowd, a police officer. His uniform loomed like a storm cloud. The officer approached, face set, eyes scanning for the heart of the matter. "What's going on here?" he demanded. Before Rafael could react, a woman rushed into view behind the officer, breathless and wild-eyed. A thick, leather-bound notebook clutched to her chest. She pushed through the stunned spectators like a wave. "Anna, I came as soon as I got your call." The blood drained from Anna's face. What? What are you doing here?" Rafael blinked, confusion slamming into him. "Call? What call?" He sensed a frayed thread unraveling, a twisted web of secrets. Suddenly, the serene park shifted. Whispers flowed like iron, drenching the air with confusion. "Anna, listen to me," the woman said, already moving toward them, urgency in her step. "We need to talk. It's about Michael. You have to trust me." Rafael felt the tension snap, a vortex of fear and surprise pulling him under. Everything tilted. Anna's eyes opened wide. He could see a churning storm behind them. The woman was right in their orbit now, arms extended, trying to catch hold of her. "Who are you?" His voice came out stark, raw. "I'm Lisa. I've been helping Anna." She turned, giving Rafael a worried once-over, her gaze finalizing on the baby, Michael, who was at the heart of this chaos. "You need to understand, David isn't just a threat. It's so much more than that." The quiet around them thickened. Even the bustling crowd seemed to hold its breath. "More?" Anna whispered, voice fragile. "What do you mean?" With a hesitant pause, Lisa's eyes flickered. "David, he's not who you think he is. There's more to his story, more about Michael." Her voice broke, and the notebook slipped from her hands. Papers exploded out, spiraling like autumn leaves, a damning evidence swirling into the air. Rafael felt a chill sweat mark his skin. He bent down to gather the scattered pages, his pulse racing. One caught his eye. The headline screamed at him, "Mother's Tragic Secret Uncovered." He looked up, horror blooming in his chest. "Anna, what's going on?" Before she could answer, a sharp voice rang out. "Stop! Don't you dare touch those!" David surged forward, pulling a piece of paper from the ground with a lightning-fast motion. The world stopped again. The fury in David's eyes was primal. "You have no right!" he shouted, eyes darting, desperate. "You don't understand!" The air crackled with apprehension. All the earlier bravado washed away, leaving confusion, shadows shifting under the glaring light of truth. Rafael could feel every twitch of tension in his own body. Something monumental hung in the balance. Anna's expression fractured, pieces of fear and realization crashing into each other. "What have you done, David?" The question hung, taut, weaving the fabric of their lives tighter. Rafael's heart was in his throat. Nothing made sense anymore, and every instinct screamed at him. Could he still stand beside Anna? Or was he about to uncover a truth that would change everything they had fought for? The world began to spin once more, leading them down an uncertain path that whispered of secrets, lies, and maybe a shattered illusion of love. Rafael's heart was in his throat. Everything had turned chaotic. Anna's expression was a mixture of fear and shock, and Rafael felt the weight of the world pressing down on his chest. David's frenzy, the fast-moving shadows of uncertain. The pages scattered like desperate whispers across the ground, each one potentially holding secrets that could unravel everything they fought for. "What have you done, David?" Anna trembled, her voice barely a whisper. "No, you don't understand." David spat the words out like venom. He glanced at Rafael, anger and desperation mingling in his eyes. "You don't know her. You don't know what she did." Lisa interjected, stepping forward, eyes fierce. "This isn't about you, David. This is about Michael." Rafael glanced at Anna, searching for assurance in her eyes, but he found only fear. Then David seemed to gather himself, his posture changing. He delivered a chilling smirk that made Rafael shiver. "You think this is over? You think you can take my son? You have no idea what you're playing with." His voice boomed, a stark warning that sent chills scattering through the crowd. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from the other side of the park. Everyone turned, eyes wide, fearful murmurs buzzing through the spectators. Raphael's pulse raced. Another voice echoed. It was a woman, frantic, running their way. "Anna! Anna!" she screamed, colliding with the outside edge of their circle. Her face was pallid, eyes darting around like a frightened deer. Raphael felt a chill sweep over him. What now? The woman's hair whipped like a storm, and she clutched a crumpled piece of paper in her hand. "You didn't tell me. You didn't tell me anything." Anna glanced back, bewilderment flashing across her face. Who are you?" "I'm your sister," the woman shouted, breaking their connection like a snapped rope. "And there's something you need to know about David. It's about Michael. If you don't listen—" "Enough," David bellowed. "You don't have the right." But the crowd gasped, tension coiling around them like a vice. Raphael's heart pounded hard. The word sister echoed in his mind, reverberating with implications. Anna had a sister? "That baby isn't safe," the woman pressed, her voice catching. "You were never meant to keep him. It's all a lie. You need to understand." The word lie struck Raphael like a punch. "What do you mean, a lie?" Anna choked out, disbelief staining her voice. "I should have told you. It's the truth. You're not the mother." Everything shattered like glass. Raphael's breath hitched. The world spun. Anna was not Michael's birth mother? The crowd gasped, and whispers cascaded around them like a low tide. People pulling back, eyes wide with witnessing a car crash they couldn't look away from. "David, is he?" Anna's voice cracked as she looked from David to the sister, searching for answers in a sea of betrayal. "No!" David exploded, stepping forward like an animal cornered. "She's lying. This is nonsense." But doubt crept in. Raphael could see it on Anna's face, the horrible realization that surrounded them. Something dark loomed, wrapped in the chaos. The chilling truth hung thick in the air, and Raphael felt the world tightening around them, choking on the revelation. It changed everything. Was this some kind of twisted trap? Who was Anna really? His heart raced, confusion clawing at his mind. How deep did this rabbit hole go? What else was hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Raphael's heart raced, the revelation crashing over him like waves against jagged rocks. Anna not being Michael's mother? The very air around them seemed to warp. He searched her face, desperate for answers, but saw only confusion and fear in her eyes. "David, is that true?" Anna whispered, her voice trembling as if she were standing on the edge of a cliff. The crowd held its breath. David's sneer deepened. "It doesn't matter. She's just trying to manipulate you." His voice was sharp, frantic, slicing through the thickening panic. But Anna's sister, still panting from her earlier outburst, stepped closer, desperation etched across her face. "No, you need to listen, Anna. You've been kept in the dark." "Stop it!" David shouted, his eyes wild. "You have no idea what you're talking about." The sister's moment felt twisted, as if time bent around the chaos. Anna's sister continued, "You don't understand your past, Anna. You were adopted. Your birth mother, she tried to protect you. She gave up Michael because of... A hard breath escaped Rafael's lips, and time seemed to freeze. Layers of lies and secrets wrapped tightly around them, smothering hope. The weight of the truth hung heavily between them, palpable and cold. No, Anna's voice broke. What are you saying? A distant wail sounded from the far edge of the park, shrill enough to pierce through the tension. Rafael's mind spun. A woman screamed, a piercing cry jagged enough to send shivers down his spine. He turned just as chaos erupted. People screamed and scattered. Shadows danced as figures rushed away from the source of the panic. Rafael's instincts kicked in. The explosion of noise pulled him in like a whirlpool, and he gripped Anna's hand tighter. She was trembling, eyes wide, fear washing over her like a tide. "What's happening?" Anna gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. Then he saw it, a figure, shadowy and frantic, sprinting toward them through the crowd. Closer now, the distorted outline sharpened into a recognizable face. It was a reporter, her phone glued to her ear, urgency radiating from her every move. "Where is she?" she yelled, barely a breath between her words. "Where's Anna Lewis? I need to find her." Rafael's chest tightened. "What do you mean, find her?" Too late. The reporter cried, eyes darting around, panic edging her voice. "The police are involved. There's a missing child." The word missing shattered the atmosphere like glass cracking under pressure. Everyone froze, the realization hitting them like a car crash. Anna swayed, as if the ground was vanishing beneath her. Rafael's heart dropped. "What? David, is Michael safe?" "Shut up! This is nonsense!" David barked, but the tether of confidence in his voice frayed. Anna's sister stepped forward, defiance creeping into her expression. "You don't get to decide anymore, David. Anna needs to know." Another scream, this one chilling, cut through the air like ice. Rafael turned again, searching. A little voice rang out, small but desperate, in the distance. "Mommy! Mommy!" Rafael's stomach sank. The chaos morphed into a whirlwind of confusion again. He turned to Anna, who looked paler than before, her hands trembling violently. "Anna!" he shouted. "We need to go!" With a surge of adrenaline, he pulled her toward the sound, merging with the fray of people. But as they made their way through the tumultuous crowd, the world seemed to pulse in slow motion. "Mommy, help!" The voice came again, closer now, unmistakable. Rafael's heart raced faster, urging them on. And just as they broke free into an open space, there he was, Michael, standing alone, wide-eyed and looking lost under the swarming sky. Before Rafael could react, a hand landed on his shoulder from behind. Heavy and firm, he turned, and the world exploded into chaos once more. "Rafael Johnson," a deep voice said, cold and cutting through the chatter. "We need to talk about your involvement in this case." It was a detective, face grim and serious. Rafael's stomach twisted. Before he could respond, a loud crack echoed. A gunshot rang out. The world around them shattered like glass, screams erupting, chaos swallowing reality, and just like that, everything shifted. In that blinding moment, Rafael knew they'd crossed the line. Relationships fractured, truth morphed into lies, and everything he believed unraveled in a heartbeat. Would he lose everything he fought for? Or was this just the beginning of something much darker? Rafael's heart was in his throat. Time stretched and screams erupted. Panic swept through the crowd, and Rafael's instincts kicked into overdrive. He grabbed Anna's hand, urging her to move. "Come on," he shouted, pulling her through the thrumming chaos. Every footfall carried them closer to the sound of Michael's cries. Then something shifted, a shadow darting across their path. Rafael turned, just in time to see David stumbling backward, his face a mask of shock. His hand clutched something, a gun, gleaming ominously in the fading light. "I didn't mean to," David shouted, voice cracking like ice that was ready to shatter. He looked around frantically, the air thickening with tension. "I just wanted to." Before Rafael could process the threat, the detective lunged forward, grabbing David's arm, the gun swinging dangerously. "Drop it," the detective shouted, his voice booming over the panic. A sharp gasp ripped from Anna as she instinctively clutched Rafael tighter. "Michael!" she cried, her eyes darting around frantically. The panic swirled, enveloping them. Rafael turned to reassure her, but the world around them faded to a muted blur. People screamed, some falling to the ground, others running for cover. "Get down!" a voice roared, echoing like thunder. Rafael pushed Anna to the ground, shielding her with his body. The fear surged through him, suffocating. The world twisted in corners of chaos. He could feel Anna trembling beneath him, her breaths rapid. Then it hit him, a realization, a connection so deep it made his breath catch. The face of the woman, the reporter who had shouted for Anna. The urgency radiating from her, the way this day spiraled into a nightmare. "Anna," he breathed. "What if David, what if he's not just her ex?" Her eyes searched his, wide with fear. "What do you mean?" "The signs," he murmured, recalling fragments of their chaotic conversation. "The missing kid. There's something more here." Suddenly, another loud boom, and the crowd erupted in waves of sound. The shadows grew longer, pulling them in different directions. Everything felt surreal, each moment stretching into eternity. Then came the scream, clear and piercing. "Michael!" In that heartbeat, Rafael's heart plummeted. The little one was alone, lost in the storm. "Stay here," Rafael commanded, and before he could second-guess himself, he sprinted toward the sound. Each step felt like stepping into the depths of a nightmare. The world blurred, but he could still see the small figure of Michael standing alone. Just beyond him, a flicker of movement caught Rafael's eye. David stood against a tree, his eyes wide, disoriented. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," he shouted. "Please, just give him back." Rafael's heart raced, pounding in sync with the frantic, wild fear coursing through the air. Anger boiled in his veins. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. But as he reached Michael, another shout rang out. A gunshot, another chaos exploded like a grenade. Anna's sister, the woman with truth spilling from her lips when everything still felt all right, moved into the fray, her face pale and wild. "No, get away from him!" Rafael turned just in time to see David raise the gun again, a desperate look in his eyes. In that split second, everything froze. The world, the sound, the fear. David's finger tightened on the trigger. "You need to understand, I'm protecting Michael." "Stop!" Anna screamed, rushing forward. It was a primal scream, mingled with the kind of desperation that sent a shock through everyone present. And then it happened. A sudden, thunderous silence fell. Time snapped back like a taut rubber band. Anna lunged and David fired simultaneously, but it wasn't towards Rafael. With a sickening thud, a body crumpled to the ground. All eyes turned, breathless, shocked. Rafael's stomach dropped. Anna frozen, tears streaming down her face. He realized too late. Her sister had jumped between them, arms outstretched, absorbing the bullet meant for Anna. The world swirled in darkness. Silence fell like a curtain, and Rafael's heart shattered on impact. "No!" Anna screamed, collapsing to her knees. Rafael felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything he'd known changed in an instant. The truth became heavier. Little Michael cried louder than ever. As Rafael stood on the precipice of despair, desperate for answers, a new realization dawned. It would take more than courage now. They had stepped into a darkness that shrouded every relationship, twisting the very fabric of their reality. Who was protecting whom? And what other secrets lay buried beneath this nightmare? Anna fell to her knees, her screams cutting through the chaos like a knife. The world around her began to blur, drowning in a sea of pain and confusion. Rafael's heart raced as he tried to process the horror unfolding before him. Anna's sister lay crumpled on the ground, blood seeping into the grass, staining everything in a deep crimson. "Somebody call for help!" Rafael shouted, but his voice felt small against the tidal wave of chaos. The crowd was a mass of bodies, eyes wide and mouths agape, everyone frozen in shock, their breaths hitching in their throats. Anna's fingers clawed at the grass, her sobs wrenching from the depths of her despair. "No, no!" she choked out, shaking her head violently, as if denial could push the reality away. It was horrifying. It was terrible, and Rafael felt a lump in his throat, a tightness pulling at his chest. But then, just as Rafael reached for her, a figure slipped through the throng, a woman, panic etched on her face. Her clothes were torn, hair wild, as if she had emerged from a storm. Rafael caught his breath. "It's happening!" she shouted, voice raw and frantic. "We need to go, now!" "What?" Rafael turned to her, confusion flooding his mind. "What are you talking about?" "Michael!" she gasped, voice thick with urgency. "They're coming for him!" "No!" Anna screamed, snapping her head up, eyes wide with horror. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" Then, as if the very air had morphed, the atmosphere shifted. Suddenly, sirens blared, echoing through the park, a soundtrack of desperation cutting through the chaos. Shadows loomed as police cars roared in, tires screeching against the asphalt. They poured out, uniforms flashing, demanding order. "Get back!" a bellowing voice screamed, pushing people away. "Clear the area!" But Rafael's focus was torn between Anna's crumpled sister and this frantic woman. "What's happening? Who are you?" he pressed, urgency lacing every syllable. "Your time's running out," she insisted. "Michael is in danger. He's not safe here." "What do you know?" Rafael shouted over the armed chests of the officers. He felt frustration boiling, his heart pounding against his ribcage. "That's not his real name," the woman gasped, stepping closer as the crowd parted for the police. "You have to listen before it's too late." "What are you talking about?" Rafael's mind reeled, each word a nail driving deeper into his confusion. "His name is Noah," she said, eyes wide. "And you're not who you think you are, Anna." Time stopped. The name hit like a punch, sending shockwaves through him. Rafael's breath caught in his throat. "Noah?" Anna stared at her, bewildered, still kneeling on the ground, shock etched into her features. "No, that's not true." "Yes," the frantic woman pressed on. "You were part of a witness protection program. They've been searching for you and Noah. I'm here to get you both out before they find you." "Find us?" Rafael's voice trembled. "What are you saying?" They want the baby." Her voice was a whisper now, full of fear. "Because he knows too much. You can't stay." The crowd murmured, uncertainty rippling through the mass. Gasps and questions swirled in the still air, as all eyes remained fixed on the unfolding terror. "Get away from Anna!" David roared, the gnashing of teeth in his voice. But he was a cornered animal, fear clouding his eyes. Rafael's heart sank. Everything he thought he knew about Anna and Michael, no, Noah, imploded, revealing a hidden truth that completely shifted the landscape. The energy shifted, choking him. "Who are you?" He stared at the woman, searching for answers as desperation clawed at his chest. "What do you know about our lives?" Suddenly, there was a sharp crack, and chaos erupted again. Another shot rang out, but this time it wasn't directed at them. It was directed at the officers. Chaos erupting like a volcano. People screamed. Some ducked for cover. Rafael felt the air shift, a new kind of terror surging through them. And then, amid the madness, a voice roared. A child's voice, crying out, "Mommy, help me." Rafael's heart shattered. Everything was spinning, but one thing became clear. No one was safe. Deep shadows loomed, ready to engulf them, all of them, as the night fell around them. What had just been an ordinary day had transformed into a nightmare, and they were all caught in a web deeper than any of them could have imagined. Chaos erupted all around them, the air thick with fear and uncertainty. Rafael's heart raced. He could hear the panicked cries of the crowd, but all he could focus on was Anna. She knelt on the ground, her sister's body before her, shock festering into despair. "Somebody help!" he screamed again, but the sirens only seemed to drown out their cries. Shouts rang out as people ran, searching for safety. He pushed forward, propelled by adrenaline and instinct. The ground shook beneath them as more police cars arrived, their lights flashing, sirens wailing, drowning the park in a disorienting symphony of chaos. Rafael turned desperately toward the frantic woman. "What do you mean?" But just then, a figure loomed behind her. A heavily built man emerged from the crowd, striding towards them with an unsettling determination in his eyes. Rafael felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "Get away from them!" the man shouted, and just like that, everyone went quiet. All eyes on him. The tension crackled like a raw wire. "Who the hell are you?" Rafael barked, instinctively stepping in front of Anna and her sister. The man smirked, confidence radiating off him like heat from pavement. "Just someone who knows more than you think. I'm here to help, or at least to make things more interesting." Rafael's gut twisted. "Help? You think showing up now helps?" But the man wasn't fazed. "Listen up. Take the baby and run, right now." His voice rang with an urgency that jolted through Rafael. "What?" Anna whispered, her breath hitching. "Run?" She looked from the man to Rafael, confusion etched into her features. "Do it," the man snapped, eyes darting nervously. "You don't know what's at stake here." The air shifted again. Suddenly, Rafael caught a glimpse of flashing red lights through the trees. A memory clicked, and something in him sparked. "Noah!" he shouted. The police were closing in, yet he needed to reach Michael. No, Noah, the child who represented everything tangled in this mess. Then, without warning, a sharp click echoed in the stillness. Rafael's instincts screamed as he turned, eyes widening. There, standing amongst the swarm, was David, gun raised. "Get away from them!" David yelled, but the madness in his voice was unmistakable. Then chaos. A deafening bang split the air, leaving only a haunting silence behind it. Rafael felt time slow as David's figure jerked back, shock painting his face. And then, a body crumpled to the ground, a not-so-familiar sight. The girl, the supposedly frantic woman claiming to help, she gasped, her mouth opening wide before collapsing to the grass. "What did you do?" Anna screamed, horror-laden tears streaming down her cheeks. No. Rafael felt his own heart drop, the weight of betrayal settling deep in his chest. "You were supposed to help us." David stood, trembling, staring in disbelief at the chaos he had wrought. "Not my fault," he shouted, the terror seeping into his voice. "I didn't want it like this." Rafael felt the world spiral, darting between disbelief and rage. This was not what he signed up for. He turned to Anna, whose eyes were wide with something he hadn't anticipated. Realization. "Rafael," she started, voice trembling. "It's him, the baby, it's the connection." But before she could finish, laughter pierced the air, a chilling, mocking sound that wrapped around them like a snake. The man from earlier stepped forward again, his grin now an ominous mask. "Oh, sweet Anna, don't you see? You're still playing in a game that goes far deeper." He laughed, eyes glinting. "That baby isn't the one they're after, you are." A collective gasp echoed around them as Raphael's stomach twisted. "What?" he breathed, the truth slamming into him like a freight train. "How?" "Refugees," he said, his voice smooth, dangerous. "You thought your past was buried, but it's been waiting to claim you back." Raphael's mind raced, heart pounding. The air thickened, secrets unraveling like threads, as he realized nothing was as it seemed. "No!" Anna shouted, the weight of her world crashing down around her. Raphael pulled her close, trying to anchor them both, but countless questions spiraled through him. Who was the real enemy? Had they walked into a trap? Were they even safe standing there? The truth loomed, darker than he ever imagined. He needed answers, and before he could even grasp the implications, another sound fractured the tense air. A soft cry, "Michael," echoed through the chaos, desperate, full of fear. It filled the space with urgency and shattered all they thought they knew. Could they really protect the baby? And more importantly, would they survive the storm closing in around them? The dread swallowed him whole, and Raphael knew this was just the beginning of something far worse. Anna fell to her knees, her screams cutting through the chaos like a knife. The world around her began to blur, drowning in a sea of pain and confusion. Raphael's heart raced as he tried to process the horror unfolding before him. Anna's sister lay crumpled on the ground, blood seeping into the grass, staining everything in a deep crimson. "Somebody help!" he screamed again, but the sirens only seemed to drown out their cries. Shouts ran. He pushed forward, propelled by adrenaline and instinct. The ground shook beneath them as more police cars arrived, their lights flashing, sirens wailing, drowning the park in a disorienting symphony of chaos. Raphael turned desperately toward the frantic woman. "What do you mean they're coming for him?" But just then, a figure loomed behind her. A heavily built man emerged from the crowd, striding towards them with an unsettling determination in his eyes. Raphael felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "Get away from them," the man shouted, and just like that, everyone went quiet, all eyes on him. The tension crackled like a raw wire. "Who the hell are you?" Raphael barked, instinctively stepping in front of Anna and her sister. The man smirked, confidence radiating off him like heat from pavement. "Just someone who knows more than you think. I'm here to help, or at least to make things more interesting." Raphael's gut twisted. "Help? You think showing up now helps?" But the man wasn't fazed. "Listen up. Take the baby and run. Right now." His voice rang with an urgency that jolted through Raphael. "What?" Anna whispered, her breath hitching. "Run?" She looked from the man to Raphael, confusion etched into her features. "Do it," the man snapped, eyes darting nervously. "You don't know what's at stake here." The air shifted again. Suddenly, Raphael caught a glimpse of flashing red lights through the trees. A memory clicked, and something in him sparked. "Noah!" he shouted. The police were closing in, yet he needed to reach Michael. No, Noah, the child who represented everything tangled in this mess. Then, without warning, a sharp click echoed in the stillness. Raphael's instincts screamed as he turned, eyes widening. There, standing amongst the swarm, was David, gun raised. "Get away from them!" David yelled. But the madness in his voice was unmistakable. Then, chaos. A deafening bang split the air, leaving only a haunting silence behind it. Raphael felt time slow as David's figure jerked back, shock painting his face. And then, a body crumpled to the ground, a not-so-familiar sight. The girl, the supposedly frantic woman claiming to help, she gasped, her mouth opening wide before collapsing to the grass. "What did you do?" Anna screamed, horror-laden tears streaming down her cheeks. No. Raphael felt his own heart drop, the weight of betrayal settling deep in his chest. "You were supposed to help us." David stood, trembling, staring in disbelief at the chaos he had wrought. "Not my fault," he shouted, the terror seeping into his voice. "I didn't want it like this." Rafael felt the world spiral, darting between disbelief and rage. This was not what he signed up for. He turned to Anna, whose eyes were wide with something he hadn't anticipated. Realization. "Rafael," she started, voice trembling. "It's him. The baby. It's the connection." But before she could finish, laughter pierced the air, a chilling, mocking sound that wrapped around them like a snake. The man from earlier stepped forward again, his grin now an ominous mask. "Oh, sweet Anna, don't you see? You're still playing in a game that goes far deeper." He laughed, eyes glinting. "That baby isn't the one they're after. You are." A collective gasp echoed around them as Rafael's stomach twisted. "What?" he breathed, the truth slamming into him like a freight train. "How?" "Refugees," he said, his voice smooth, dangerous. "You thought your past was buried, but it's been waiting to claim you back." Rafael's mind raced, heart pounding. The air thickened, secrets unraveling like threads as he realized nothing was as it seemed. "No!" Anna shouted, the weight of her world crashing down around her. Rafael pulled her close, trying to anchor them both, but countless questions spiraled through him. Who was the real enemy? Had they walked into a trap? Were they even safe standing there? The truth loomed, darker than he ever imagined. Just then, the distant sound of sirens swelled and transformed into a cacophony of panic. A sudden explosion ripped through the park, sending debris flying. Rafael's instincts kicked in, and he grabbed Anna, shielding her with his body, his heart racing. Then, through the clouds of dust and chaos, Rafael saw something that shattered everything he thought he knew. Amid the frantic scurry of people, another figure emerged. A familiar face, framed by smoke. "Mommy!" A small voice cried out. It was a child, with wide, terrified eyes, hands outstretched. Rafael's breath caught in his throat. In that moment, everything twisted, the truth warping, the connections unspooling like yarn. "Anna, that's—" he started, but as the dust settled, his heart raced with fear. Because the child wasn't just any kid, he looked just like Noah. "Is that?" Anna whispered, a deep well of fear rising in her chest. "But is it possible?" And just like that, Rafael's world shifted again. All the pieces fell into bizarre alignment, and in the midst of chaos, a sinister realization slithered through the air. They had been in the wrong game all along. A buried past was clawing its way back into the light, a game with stakes higher than they could imagine. Before he could react, the police swarmed the area, determined to bring order to the chaos. Anna gasped, eyes wide as the realization washed over her. Who was that child? Rafael wondered, feeling a whirlpool of dread swallow him whole. The war was just beginning, and with shock gripping their hearts, they were left standing unsure, caught in a tangled web of secrets and truths that threatened to tear their lives apart. What lay ahead was even darker than they could see, and they had no idea how deep the rabbit hole truly went. Rafael's heart felt like it was caught in a vice. The weight of everything, Anna's sister crumpled on the grass, the frantic cries of Michael, now Noah, tugged at the edges of his resolve. "Stay with me," he urged Anna, pulling her toward him. Her gaze was glassy. Lost somewhere between shock and despair, the air buzzed with chaos, but everything fa. "You don't understand. You'll ruin everything." He was sweating, wild-eyed, frantically scanning the crowd. "Rafael, please!" Anna's voice broke through to him, but before he could answer, the shadows shifted again. The man from before, the one who had warned them, had slipped away from the chaos. Rafael didn't notice until he felt a sudden rush beside him. "Where's Michael?" the man yelled, and it was too close, too intense. "We have to go, now." "What?" Rafael shot back, his instincts firing. "Who are you?" "What are you talking about?" But the man was already diving into the crowd, making his way toward Noah. "They're coming!" he roared, urgency driving his every word. "You have to trust me. We've lost too much already." Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, and Rafael turned his head just in time to see a black SUV speeding into the park, tires screeching. The tension hung thick, perfumed with fear. "Get Noah!" Rafael shouted, adrenaline pumping as he pushed Anna back, ready to protect them both. Then, just as abruptly, the chaos changed. The SUV skidded to a halt, and the doors flung open. Out poured a group of stern-looking men in suits, serious and focused. Rafael's blood ran cold. These weren't just law enforcement. They were something else altogether, and they had one aim in mind: the baby. "Rafael," Anna's voice cut through. "They're here for us." He spun around, feeling the world collapse around him. "What do you mean, here for us?" Panic slipped into his bones as the suited men spread out, their looks locked on Noah. "Anna," Rafael shouted, "I can't lose you too." The words barely left his lips when the first suited man shouted something incomprehensible, brandishing a badge. But that's when it happened. Another gunshot rang out, loud and chilling, and Rafael's heart painted a canvas of dread. He turned to see David falling back, clutching his chest, shock painted across his face. "No!" Anna screamed, her voice raw, filled with disbelief and horror. The world slowed, every gasp, every murmur sinking under the weight of that horrible moment. Rafael was frozen as David fell to the ground, eyes wide, still gasping for breath, lips whispering unformulated words. But then came the gasp. The crowd started to stir, points of shock weaving through them like an electric current. Anna's sister, the woman who had been shot, the supposed ally, suddenly stirred. "Imposter! Everything was a lie!" She croaked, voice strained but alive. "David, he didn't steal you, Anna. He was—" Rafael's world spun. "What?" he spat, disbelief all over his face. Suddenly the air crackled with tension as realization dawned across Anna's features. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, caught between anger and confusion. "Anna, you're not my sister," she rasped, severe and cutting through the chaos. "You're a clone. You were created to replace her, to grow up, to hide." The words crashed like waves against Rafael. A clone? Everything. It spun out of control, unraveling into chaos as those words echoed in his mind. He turned to Anna, who looked simultaneously furious and terrified. "That's not possible," she growled, but her voice wavered, unraveling at the seams. Before they could grasp the implications, another piercing scream sliced through the air. The crowd swelled, pushing forward as more truths came to the surface. The suited men were all staring at Anna now, eyes lit with purpose, and Rafael could feel the ground shifting beneath them. The sudden realization hit him hard. This was a trap, and the walls were closing in around them, wrapped in lies deeper than he could ever fathom. Who was real? Who was not? And more frighteningly, how far would they go to retrieve the truth? Rafael's heart raced, drowning in the horror of those chilling revelations. They were standing at the brink of something deeper, darker, and as the chaos swirled around them, every thread of connection was beginning to snap. Everything they believed was unraveling, and all he wanted was to hold Anna close, to shield them from the storm. Could he still protect her? Would he even know the truth when it found them? The mystery wrapped tighter around them, leaving only questions and growing dread in its wake. As Rafael stood there, the chaos swirling like a ferocious storm, a heaviness settled on his chest. David lay on the ground, his eyes wide with disbelief. Anna's sister gasped, words escaping her lips in strangled whispers. The twinkling streetlights around them flickered, casting eerie shadows in the gathering gloom. "No," Anna whispered, her breath catching. My whole life, it can't just be a lie. The crowd shifted uneasily, murmurs drifting through the air like falling leaves. Rafael could feel the panic lifting around them, a charged electricity. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to something enormous. He glanced at Anna, her wide eyes brimming with tears. It was a familiar pain, one that felt like ice shattering inside him. Anna, we need to move, now, he urged, his voice rising above the growing noise. He reached for her, pulling her closer. We can fight this, together. No, she cried, shaking her head, fear gripping her voice. If what she said is true, if I'm not even me, then what's the point? Rafael's heart ached. That doesn't matter. You're still here, Anna. You're still alive. That's what matters. He could see the confusion fading, replaced by a flicker of determination. But the shadows lurked around them, whispers of those truths sought by unknown pursuers. We can't let them get to him, he said, nodding toward the small boy, still stranded in the chaos. Noah needs us. We have to go. Suddenly, with a surge of hope, Anna took a deep breath. You're right. We can't give up. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, they both knew there was no turning back. The world might have twisted beneath them, but together they had a shot at fighting through. The wildly laughing man, once cloaked in danger, stood frozen in disbelief, caught in the moment. Rafael seized the opportunity. You, tell us where to go. What's the safest route out? His gaze bore into the man. With urgency now beating in his heart, the man nodded. Follow me, quickly. He sprang into action, leading them through the crowd. Rafael held Anna's hand ferociously. They burst through the massive bodies, adrenaline coursing through him. As they neared Noah, Rafael felt something shift. Hope mingled with fear, electrifying the air. But the suited men were still closing in, their grin expressions fueled by determination. Stay behind me, Rafael called out as they skidded past people scrambling for safety. But then he caught sight of Noah, a small boy, eyes terrified, looking for his mother. Disregarding everything else, Rafael pushed forward, the need to protect him overwhelming. Rafael! Anna screamed, but he couldn't look back. The moment felt like eternity. He reached Noah, scooping him into his arms. The weight of innocence pulled at his heartstrings. I've got you, buddy, he whispered. The boy cried, clinging to him, unaware of the monstrous truths lingering on the periphery. Then he heard David's voice, harsh and ragged. You can't keep him. Panic seeped into every word, and Rafael felt Anna's steady presence close behind him, her resolve grounding him. Without hesitation, they moved, dashing through the park, hearts pounding. The world was a blur, and chaos spun like a whirlpool around them. Just ahead, the back exit, the man yelled. They burst through a gate, fresh air flooding his lungs, a brief oasis amidst the madness. But danger followed them. The sirens howled in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Rafael tightened his grip on Noah and Anna, his pulse racing. What awaited them? The sunset painted the horizon in shades of fear. And in this dark moment, familiarity flickered with possibility. There's so much we don't know. Anna's voice broke into a whisper, tinged with uncertainty. I know, but we'll figure it out together, he promised. No more hiding. His eyes held all the determination he could muster. And as they disappeared into the night, one truth was evident. The past had led them here, but the future was unwritten. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Share this video with at least 5 friends who must know the truth. Don't wait one more second. Show your support and help us build this amazing community together.